Is it possible in the world we live in? There's organ harvesting, brainwashing, mass kidnappings, beatings in concentration camps. Barbaric atrocities are on the rise worldwide against people of faith. So who is rising up now to defend the persecuted? Jennifer Wishon has that.
Christians are being persecuted around the world at a pace not seen since the 1st century. This as China terrorizes millions of Muslims while conducting business as usual with the world. Nearly 80% of the world's people live in nations where severe restrictions are placed on who, what, and how they worship. In its annual report, the Commission on International Religious Freedom spells out the grim details. 50,000 Christians held in North Korean prison camps, some 3,000 Yazidi girls and women missing in Iraq, 130,000 Muslims in internment camps in Burma, as many as 3 million Uyghur Muslims in Chinese concentration camps.
In our first report, we raised concern 22 years ago about what the Chinese Communist Party was already then doing to the Uyghur community.
Now the communist regime works to reprogram an entire community while subjecting some to barbaric procedures like organ harvesting.
They're even marketing the Uyghur organs in the countries, Muslim majority countries. They find two particular religions, Islam and Christianity, problematic for the survival and existence of the Communist Party.
And in Africa, the Islamic State, Boko Haram, and other Islamist groups are surging, with non-Muslims in their crosshairs. Earlier this month in Nigeria, armed bandits kidnapped 121 students from Bethel Baptist High School in Damishi, Kaduna State, marking the 7th mass kidnapping of Nigerian students this year. This week, the International Religious Freedom Summit will bring survivors of severe persecution together with lawmakers and advocates. Their goal is to gain political support for religious freedom and grow the grassroots movement.
It's time for Christians to do what the Apostle Paul called them to do, which is to pray for those who are in prison as if they were there with them.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
Well, former Senator and Governor Sam Brownback is co-chair of the International Religious Freedom Summit. He's also served as the State Department's ambassador for religious freedom in the Trump administration. And Sam, it's good to have you with us. It's glad to see you again.
Pat, it's great to see you. I hope you're doing well.
Fantastic. Together we'll go down the road. Well, China is targeting Muslims and Christians and radical Islamic groups are terrorizing Africa. How intense is this persecution? Is it as bad as we've been hearing?
I think it's as bad as you've been hearing, Pat, and I think it's going to get worse if we don't get on top of it. We're really headed, I think, for this showdown, a clash of civilizations, if you will, if we don't start guaranteeing people's right to religious freedom and making that a hallmark of our human rights effort. We don't do that, I think you're going to continue to see this escalate. Africa could go really in flames in a Islamic Christian battle that's setting up right now, and China's at war with all faiths and then trying to export that model around the world.
Well, they've got this advanced technology and surveillance. How is that playing in religious persecution?
Oh, they are using it. They're perfecting it, really. They started it on the Tibetan Buddhist, a guy by the name of Chen Guo. He was the party's secretary, Communist Party secretary over Tibet. He developed these systems there, and then he's been moved to the party chairman over Xinjiang, where they've got this mass concentration camp, and then they've got a camera everywhere, social credit system, and if they get their money digitized, where there's no physical currency anymore, they will be able to track every transaction that's made with Chinese currency and can shut you off. Just shut you off if they decide they don't like who you are or what your faith is.
Now, this sounds like something out of the book of Revelation. Is it that bad?
Well, I thought that's exactly what I thought when I first saw it and read about it. And I don't know if you want to make that comparison, but the fact of the matter is they have a virtual police state in place now, whether you're in the concentration camp or not. And when they're able to tie down that currency, and then you can't buy or sell unless you have the approval of the government, where are they going to take that? And then what if they export that system to other authoritarian regimes? And that, to me, is the real concern, is the exportation of this system and having it spread, because it's not an expensive system. Once you get the information plugged in and in place, it's fairly easy to replicate.
Is the Biden administration different than the Trump administration in dealing with this problem?
Well, we don't know yet. I think it's too early in the administration to tell. They've continued the sanctions against China that the Trump administration put in place. They've continued declaring that what's happening to the Uyghurs is a genocide. And they've added to some of the sanctions on China. So I think those are all great signs. My hope is, with this summit and with other things, is to continue to push them about the critical nature of standing up for religious freedom for people that are persecuted around the world, and make this a major foreign policy issue and continue to keep it one of religious freedom, because it's such a bedrock of human rights.
Well, what would you like our audience to do? What could it do? We've got a lot of people watch this program. What should they do to actually help bring about change?
The first thing is pray. We want God to act. That's the first step. The second one is to act, and really to contact your members of Congress. I think is an important thing to tell them you think religious freedom internationally and domestically is a very important and critical topic. And the third one is I think they ought to start pushing on some specific topics, like breaking down the Chinese internet firewall. Right now, if you're in China, you can't get access to the general internet. And we could fund systems to allow people to get that. We need to fund systems to allow people to have access to the internet. And we also need to ban the death penalty for apostasy and blasphemy laws around the world. There's still a dozen countries that you get the death penalty for apostasy or blasphemy. Those laws need to be repealed.
Well, Sam, it's good to have you with us. You're a good friend, and our prayers are with you. This is great work you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pat. God bless you, sir.